Did you know? A small kitchen habit, something you have been doing for years, could actually be the trigger for a sudden stroke. Especially if you are over 60 years old. This is far more dangerous than you might think. Imagine this. You take some leftovers, rice, vegetables, meat, and pop them into the microwave to reheat. Quick, simple, convenient, but just a few hours later, your face starts to go numb. Your speech becomes slurred, your vision blurs, and suddenly, an ambulance is racing through the night. I am a neurologist. I have seen many stroke cases where the cause was not an underlying health condition or genetics, but simply the wrong way of reheating food. Certain foods, when microwaved, can produce toxic substances like nitrites, which inflame blood vessels, form clots, and eventually lead to strokes. You do not need to stop reheating food, but you do need to know which dishes to avoid, and which ones must be reheated properly. In the next part, I will share 6 common foods that can be extremely dangerous if reused the wrong way. Follow this channel so you do not miss out. Sometimes, just one small change is enough to save your life or the life of someone you love. Rice, a familiar dish that could be a silent threat to the health of older adults. For many older Americans, rice is more than just a familiar side dish. It is a symbol of simplicity, affordability, and long-lasting satiety. Whether paired with soup, eaten as a light meal, or simply left over from the day before, rice is almost always in the fridge. But what few people realize is that this seemingly harmless staple can pose a serious risk to brain health, especially if it is stored for too long or reheated the wrong way. You might think it is as simple as tossing rice into the microwave and waiting a few minutes. But what is hiding beneath those fluffy white grains is not always visible to the naked eye. Rice, if not cooled down and stored properly after cooking, can become the perfect breeding ground for a type of bacteria called Bacillus cereus. This bacteria can survive even after the rice is fully cooked and produces toxins that are not destroyed. No matter how many times you reheat it, even if the rice is steaming hot, those toxins can still be present. For older adults, who often have weakened immune systems and fragile blood vessels, consuming rice contaminated with these toxins can lead to low-level inflammation in the arteries, disrupt blood pressure, and contribute to the formation of blood clots. It might sound hard to believe, but I have seen it firsthand. One of my elderly patients, Mrs. Judith McAllister, 73 years old, began experiencing symptoms like morning dizziness, blurred vision, and slurred speech, almost as if she were drunk, even though she never drank alcohol. Her family thought it was just part of aging, but I was not convinced. After a series of tests, we discovered she had just suffered a minor stroke, and the cause was not any serious underlying condition. All of her health markers were within normal range, until her daughter mentioned that she often cooked large batches of rice, stored them in the fridge, and reheated them one portion at a time. It made sense from a practical standpoint, but when I asked more questions, they admitted that the rice would usually sit out on the kitchen counter for several hours before being refrigerated. That time gap was the golden window for bacteria to multiply. And once those toxins form, no method of reheating, microwave, stovetop, or otherwise, can eliminate the danger. Over time, these toxins build up in the body. In older adults, they can destabilize blood pressure, increase inflammation, and trigger blood clot formation in narrowed arteries, a direct recipe for a stroke. After treatment, Mrs. Judith had to go on blood thinners and begin speech therapy. She once told me, "I could not believe a bowl of cold rice almost took away my ability to talk to my grandchildren." If you have made it this far, I want to emphasize one thing. Properly storing and reheating rice is not just about food safety. It is about protecting your memory, your mobility, and your overall quality of life. Here are the key rules to remember. Only cook the amount of rice you plan to eat that day. If you have leftovers, cool them down quickly and place them in the refrigerator within 1 hour of cooking. Never leave rice sitting out at room temperature for too long. Reheat only once, and make sure every bite reaches at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 74 degrees Celsius. If the rice has been in the fridge for more than 36 hours, or if it smells strange, throw it out. One more important note. Many frozen meals sold in supermarkets may contain rice that has been thawed and refrozen multiple times before reaching your home. You would not know unless you read the packaging carefully or understand the supply chain behind it. So for older adults, the safest choice will always be this: cook fresh meals daily if possible. And if rice is a staple you still want to enjoy, whether for convenience or taste, make sure you do it the right way, so you do not end up paying for it with your health. Chicken, especially dark meat like thighs and wings. Chicken is a staple in many older American households. It is easy to cook, budget-friendly, and packed with protein for adults over the age of 60 who want to maintain their health. Chicken has long been seen as a smart and healthy choice. But here is the part no one talks about: this seemingly harmless meat, when reheated the wrong way, can actually damage your brain and, in some cases, even trigger a stroke. The problem is not with fresh chicken, but with what happens after it is cooked, cooled down, stored in the fridge, and then reheated, especially among older adults who tend to prepare meals in advance, divide them into portions, and reheat throughout the week. Chicken, particularly dark meat like thighs and wings, contains complex proteins and fats. Once it cools and is later reheated, especially in a microwave, the structure of those proteins and fats can change. For older bodies, which have slower digestion and a less efficient liver, breaking down those altered compounds becomes a real challenge. The result is chronic inflammation inside blood vessels, something most people never notice until it is too late. Worse still, if the meat is not evenly reheated, harmful bacteria like Salmonella or Listeria may survive. These invisible threats release endotoxins, and in older adults, the immune system responds with a strong inflammatory reaction. You might not feel anything right away, but inside, your circulatory system is under immense stress, with aging blood vessels that are already less elastic and more prone to plaque buildup. Even a mild inflammatory response can cause plaque to rupture or trigger a clot, the direct pathway to a stroke. One classic case I treated was Mr. Ronald Green, 78 years old, a retired railroad worker from Michigan. He came into the clinic after waking up one morning feeling off balance, with weakness in his right leg and slightly slurred speech. At first, his family thought it might just be poor sleep or low blood sugar. But after a thorough examination, his brain scan revealed he had just suffered a minor stroke. No diabetes, no high cholesterol, blood pressure? Stable. So where did it come from? After speaking with him, I found out he had a routine. Every Sunday, he roasted a big batch of chicken, mainly thighs and wings, then stored it in the fridge and reheated a portion each day using the microwave, without checking the temperature. The last piece he ate had been in the fridge for 5 days. He finished dinner, went to bed, and the next morning, his brain was not getting enough blood during those crucial early moments. I believe the combination of degraded food, aging blood vessels, mild dehydration, and underlying inflammation created the perfect storm, and that tiny clot found its way into his brain. Thankfully, Mr. Ronald got medical help in time, but he could no longer ride his bike like before, and his right hand grew noticeably weaker. During a physical therapy session, he told me, "I thought I was doing the right thing, eating healthy, saving money. No one ever warned me about this." And that is the tragedy. So many older adults stick to habits that once worked, not realizing that their bodies have changed. What your body could handle at 40 might no longer be safe at 75. That is why you need to be more cautious than ever. If you regularly reheat chicken, especially thighs and wings, here are some important things to remember. Always make sure the internal temperature of the meat reaches at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 74 degrees Celsius. Never reheat the same piece of chicken more than once. Do not keep cooked chicken in the fridge for more than 3 to 4 days. If possible, use a pan or oven to ensure the meat is heated evenly. Any unusual signs, a sour smell, strange dark color, or mushy texture, throw it out. Your brain, your memory, your ability to speak, your independence, is worth protecting. And sometimes, all it takes is a few small changes in your eating habits. Just one leftover meal, one skipped temperature check, can lead to consequences you cannot undo. So be cautious, and be smarter every time you open your fridge. Reheating potatoes, the hidden danger in the kitchen of older adults. If you are in your 60s or older and enjoy the convenience of eating leftovers, especially mashed or roasted potatoes, I urge you to pause for a moment. What you are about to hear could protect your memory, your mobility, and even your life or the life of someone you love. Potatoes are a favorite in nearly every American household. They are simple, nutritious, and easy to cook. We boil them, mash them, fry them, roast them, and feel perfectly safe storing them in the fridge to reheat later. But here is a truth that few people know. If potatoes are stored the wrong way or reheated incorrectly, they can become a serious threat to brain health, especially in older adults. Why is that? Starchy varieties like russet or Yukon Gold, when cooked and then left to cool at room temperature for a few hours, can become an ideal breeding ground for a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. This bacteria causes botulism, a rare but extremely dangerous neurotoxic illness. It can produce botulinum toxin, and even the tiniest amount can seriously impact the nervous system of older adults whose immune defenses are already weakened. The effects are not limited to nausea or dizziness. This toxin can blur your vision, weaken your muscles, slow your reflexes, and, most dangerously, trigger inflammation within the blood vessels. Once those blood vessels become inflamed, the risk of clot formation increases dramatically, especially in people who already have atherosclerosis or unstable blood pressure. The story of Mr. Harold Jennings, 74 years old, from Kentucky, is a powerful example of this hidden danger. A meticulous man, he would cook a full spread of meals every weekend to eat throughout the week: mashed potatoes, roasted chicken, steamed vegetables, all stored neatly in the fridge. But one time, he left a bowl of mashed potatoes sitting on the stove for nearly half a day before packing it away. The next morning, he was found collapsed in the bathroom, unable to speak, vision blurred, and his right leg nearly paralyzed. At the hospital, doctors confirmed he had suffered a stroke caused by a small blood clot that blocked blood flow to his brain. Blood tests revealed traces of botulinum toxin, and there was no underlying health issue to explain it, just food that had been left out too long. Mr. Harold survived, but his ability to move and speak was permanently affected. During one of his rehab sessions, he choked up and said, "I thought I was just letting it cool a bit before refrigerating. I never imagined a bowl of potatoes could leave me depending on others to live." And that is the truth. At 70, your body does not bounce back the way it did at 30. Your liver is weaker, digestion is slower, inflammation hits harder, all of which make you more vulnerable to even the smallest toxic exposures. A food as seemingly harmless as potatoes, if left out on the kitchen counter for a few hours during summer, can turn into a serious health threat. Even more concerning, botulinum toxin is not easily destroyed by casual reheating. If the potatoes are not thoroughly and evenly heated from the inside out, the bacteria or its toxin can survive and enter your body every time you eat them. The effects might not hit you right away. They can build up quietly, creating low-grade inflammation in your blood vessels. And then, one morning like any other, you wake up and realize one side of your body no longer moves. I have seen dozens of similar cases, and what pains me the most is this: they could have been prevented. If only people had known sooner. So please, if you or someone you love has the habit of reheating cooked potatoes, follow these simple rules. Cool and refrigerate the potatoes within 2 hours of cooking. Never leave cooked potatoes sitting out, even overnight. Reheat thoroughly, and make sure they reach at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 74 degrees Celsius. If they smell strange or have an unusual texture, throw them out immediately. Do not reheat the same batch of potatoes more than once. Remember, your independence, your ability to move, your memory, they are worth far more than any leftover meal. Food only saves you money if it does not cost you your health. Eggs. A familiar breakfast food that can become a health risk when reheated the wrong way. If you are over the age of 60, chances are eggs have been a regular part of your diet for decades. They are simple, affordable, rich in protein, and easy to cook, whether it is soft-boiled eggs for breakfast, fried eggs with toast, or hard-boiled eggs for a quick snack. For older adults, eggs are often considered a healthy and convenient choice. But here is something important that most people do not know: eggs, once cooked and stored improperly, can silently trigger a harmful chain reaction in your body when reheated. No, it is not because you are eating too many eggs. It is not about cholesterol. The real issue lies in how you handle leftover eggs, especially when they are stored in plastic containers and reheated in the microwave. Biologically, eggs contain sulfur-rich amino acids, particularly in the egg whites. Once cooked and cooled, especially in a sealed container or at room temperature, these sulfur compounds begin to break down and release hydrogen sulfide, the same gas responsible for that rotten egg smell. When you reheat these eggs, especially using a microwave, the compounds can undergo chemical changes that create free radicals and byproducts that lead to oxidative stress in the body. This can damage the blood vessel lining, cause inflammation, and throw off your blood pressure regulation. For older adults, whose blood vessels are less flexible, livers detoxify more slowly, and immune systems are not as strong, the buildup of even small inflammatory reactions can quickly lead to the formation of blood clots. And if one of those clots reaches the brain, the result could be a stroke that changes everything. I once treated Mr. Gerald Thompson, 82 years old, from Missouri. He had a routine of boiling 10 eggs at the start of each week, storing them in the fridge, and taking out 1 or 2 every morning to warm up and eat with toast. He believed it was a smart breakfast, no oil, no sugar, balanced nutrition, but one morning, right after breakfast, he collapsed in the hallway. He could not speak clearly, and his right arm was completely unresponsive. An MRI revealed that a part of his left brain had lost blood flow due to a clot. He had no serious underlying conditions, but his blood tests showed alarmingly high levels of inflammation and oxidative stress. When we traced back possible causes, the only notable factor was his habit of reheating boiled eggs in the microwave using plastic containers, day after day. For months, this was not an isolated case. I have seen many older patients fall into the same situation, not because they ate the wrong foods, but because of how they stored and reheated what they thought were safe. Healthy meals. You need to remember this. Your body today is not what it was 20 years ago. A small amount of toxins or mild inflammation might now be enough to throw your blood pressure off balance or trigger dangerous clotting. So, if you have the habit of prepping boiled eggs for several days at a time, keep these tips in mind. Store boiled eggs in glass containers instead of plastic. Avoid using the microwave to reheat eggs. Eat them cold, or reheat gently in a pan for even heat distribution. Do not eat eggs that have been in the fridge for more than 3 days. Always check the smell and texture before eating. If anything seems off, throw them out. Pay attention to how your body feels after eating reheated eggs. If you feel bloated, tired, or have a headache, do not ignore it. Your ability to speak, walk, and recognize your loved ones could depend on these small choices. And I say this not to scare you, but to help you take control of your health more confidently. Eggs are still a wonderful food, if handled the right way. But one small mistake in how you store or reheat them can lead to big consequences, especially when your body is no longer as resilient as it once was. Leafy greens, a superfood. But a hidden danger if you do not know this. If you are over 60 and trying to follow a healthy diet, chances are you regularly eat spinach, kale, or other leafy greens, whether tossed in a salad, steamed for dinner, or blended into a morning smoothie. Leafy vegetables are often praised as gold standard foods for your heart, brain, and bones, and much of that is true. However, there is one detail that most people overlook. Reheating these vegetables can quietly turn something healthy into something harmful. Especially for older adults. I am not saying this to alarm you. I am saying it because I have seen far too many unfortunate strokes triggered by what seemed like harmless kitchen habits. Here is the truth. Vegetables like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard are rich in nitrates, a helpful compound when intact. Fresh or freshly cooked, nitrates help relax blood vessels and improve circulation. But when these greens are reheated, especially in a microwave or under high heat, the nitrates can break down into nitrosamines. These compounds are known to damage the blood vessel lining, increase oxidative stress, and in many cases, contribute to the formation of blood clots. One of my patients, Mrs. Eleanor Jameson, 80 years old, was extremely disciplined about healthy eating. She lived alone, cooked all her meals, and always chose organic produce. To save time, she would boil a large pot of kale and spinach once a week. store it in containers, and reheat a portion for each meal. It sounded like a perfectly sensible, even admirable, routine. But one morning, she was rushed to the hospital, her mouth drooping, her speech slurred, and her mind foggy. A brain scan showed she had suffered an ischemic stroke caused by a blood vessel blockage. She had no major health issues. Her blood pressure was stable. Her heart was in good shape. But her blood tests revealed high levels of nitrosative stress, a clear sign of toxic nitrate byproducts. That well-meaning, healthy habit, repeatedly reheating leafy greens, had contributed to inflammation in her blood vessels, making her platelets more likely to clump and form clots. In younger people, the body is strong enough to break down nitrosamines. But in older adults, the liver and kidneys work slower, and the body's ability to fight inflammation and detoxify weakens, allowing harmful compounds to build up. This gradually weakens the blood vessels, slows circulation, and means that even a small trigger can set off a stroke. Mrs. Eleanor had no idea she was putting her brain at risk. From her hospital bed, she told me, "I thought I was doing everything right. I had no idea vegetables could be dangerous if I did not handle them correctly." And she is not alone. Thousands of older adults are reheating vegetables every day, unaware that what once worked for their bodies at 40 might no longer be safe at 70. Leafy greens are still incredibly good for you, if you eat them the right way. But when nitrates transform into nitrosamines, and especially when those changes build up over time, the consequences can be irreversible. Here is my advice. Only eat leafy greens when they are fresh or just cooked. Do not store them for too long and then reheat, especially not in the microwave. If you must store and reheat them, use a steamer or pan to ensure gentle, even heating. Never reheat greens that have already been reheated once before. Besides spinach and kale, vegetables like Swiss chard, arugula, bok choy, and beet greens behave similarly. When fresh, they are powerhouses of nutrition. But when reheated improperly, especially if you already have circulatory issues, high blood pressure, or a history of reduced blood flow to the brain, they can quietly inflame the blood vessels and cause damage. You do not have to cut vegetables out of your diet, but you must eat them the right way, because your brain does not get a reset button after a stroke. And one small choice, like reheating last night's bowl of greens, could be the line between just another day and a life that never returns to normal. Processed meats, a hidden danger in familiar foods. If you are over 60, then a few slices of crispy bacon or a warm sausage link might bring back memories of your younger days. Maybe it was your go-to breakfast for years, or now it is a quick lunch with some deli meat tucked inside a sandwich. It sounds simple, familiar, and comforting, right? But here is a truth that few people talk about, and as a doctor who specializes in brain health, I have seen far too many older adults pay the price for this seemingly harmless habit. Processed meats, including bacon, sausage, and ham, often contain nitrites and nitrates as preservatives. When these compounds are exposed to high heat during reheating, especially in the microwave or a frying pan, they can transform into nitrosamines, a group of toxic chemicals directly linked to blood vessel inflammation, poor circulation, and blood clot formation. Younger bodies may still handle these substances without serious consequences. But once you are past 60, when your blood vessels lose elasticity, your liver detoxes more slowly, and your blood clots more easily. Even minor inflammation can build up over time and be enough to block a major artery to your brain. That blockage can result in a stroke with no warning at all. One case I will never forget is Mr. Dennis Calhoun, 77 years old. A retired electronics engineer from Georgia. Every morning, he prepared breakfast for himself, 2 slices of turkey bacon reheated in the microwave, a slice of toast, and a cup of black coffee. It sounded like a healthy, balanced routine, but one morning, his wife heard a crash in the kitchen and rushed in to find him staggering, his face drooping on one side, unable to speak. At the hospital, a scan revealed a stroke in the left side of his brain. He had no history of heart disease, normal cholesterol levels, but his inflammation markers were extremely high, and his oxidative stress levels were far above normal. Looking into his diet, one factor stood out: the daily habit of reheating processed meats. The problem goes beyond nitrosamines. When the fats in processed meats are reheated multiple times, they become oxidized, turning into compounds that inflame the blood vessels. Add to that the high sodium levels in bacon and sausage, and what you get is a biological storm brewing silently inside your body. The result? Weakened arteries, thicker blood, and all it takes is one piece of plaque to break loose, a blood clot forms. Blocks blood flow to the brain, and everything changes. Today, Mr. Dennis needs assistance to walk, can no longer speak clearly, and communicates using a letterboard. He once wrote to me, "I thought I was making the right food choices. I never imagined a small piece of meat could leave me like this." And he is not alone. Many older adults believe that turkey bacon is healthier because it is lower in fat, or that low-sodium sausage is safe. But the truth is, when you reheat these products, especially more than once, you're creating toxic compounds that an aging body cannot detox as effectively as it once could. So what should you do? Prioritize fresh, home-cooked foods, like chicken, fish, or eggs cooked right before eating. Avoid reheating processed meats more than once. In fact, reheating them even once is often too much. Do not use the microwave to reheat sausage or bacon. If you must eat them, cook fresh and eat immediately. Cut back on salt. Even low-sodium versions still contain preservatives that can be harmful. Always listen to your body. Fatigue, dizziness, or a racing heart after eating could be signs that something is not right. You have spent your whole life building your health and independence. Do not let one small habit, like reheating a piece of processed meat each morning, undo it all. One simple change today could save you from an irreversible tragedy tomorrow. So now, we have walked through 6 hidden dangers, from familiar foods that seem harmless, to small kitchen habits that could quietly impact your brain health. And yet, one bigger question still remains. When even the healthiest foods can become harmful if handled the wrong way, how can we truly know we are making the right choices for our health? How can you, no matter your age, eat wisely? Not just to avoid illness, but to nourish your brain, repair damage, and stay mentally sharp as the years go by? The answer does not lie in a magic pill or some strict, complicated diet. It starts with one simple shift in mindset, moving from routine to awareness. From autopilot to truly understanding how your body is responding. This is not about making you fear every meal. It is about giving you the confidence to know that every choice, from how you cook, to how you store, to how you reheat, is actively protecting the most precious thing you have, your ability to live independently, to speak, to think, to remember, and to love. Now, I would like to invite you to pause for just a few seconds and think about one thing you learned today. That aha moment. Maybe it is a food you will stop reheating. Maybe it is one small habit you are ready to change starting tomorrow. Together, we are building a community not just focused on living longer, but living well. With clarity, with purpose, and with power. If you found this content helpful, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know that something resonated with you. If it did not quite meet your expectations, feel free to type 0 and share what you would like me to improve. I truly value every piece of feedback. Do not forget to hit like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so you will not miss out on practical, inspiring content designed to help you care for your brain and overall health, in a way that actually makes sense and fits into real life. Thank you for being here. I wish you a life that is deeply intentional, truly healthy, and worthy of everything you have experienced and given to this world.